Okay.
Would you all please rise for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let the record note we're all here. We'd like to thank everybody for being here this morning and open it up for public comment. Is there anybody who has a statement they would like or something they want to bring before the board? Okay, hearing none, we'll move along. Let's get the ambulance reports. If there's anything to be said, I would like to note that we are, I think everybody is okay with the ambulance agreement that goes into effect here at the end of the month. So we're set to do that on Wednesday. We also, on the agenda, have an abatement of $50,000 for the taxes to match what you folks at the ambulance service have bid. So I think from the standpoint of the I's and the T's, they're dotted and crossed. Do you have anything to bring up this morning?
I will have my physical copies for you on Wednesday, but I'll just kind of read off the quick end of the month. We finished the month with 174 911s. When you add in our transfers, there's another 48 on top of that. Averaged out to keep them on par with our 6 a day, but times look better than average this month. We were sub 1 minute in our dispatch getting route times. No cardiac arrest. Our chest compression fraction was NA, but our 12-lead acquisition time was still 88%. So overall, the numbers look really good this month. I will have copies for you guys on Wednesday, so you can at least review those. Other than that, I don't really have anything to report unless you have questions for Samantha or I.
Anybody? Jeremy?
I sent Augie the report, so you should have that. 82, 83 calls, I think, for the month. Time just over a minute, so doing good there. I will say the 3 new EMTs that they went through Horizon class have been very well. You can tell they've been taught well, they know what they're doing, so very pleased with that result there.
And are you fully staffed then?
I've got, yes.
Great.
Yep, I've got somebody going to graduate from paramedic school. Actually, his pinning's today, so right now it's just me and him as paramedics once he passes, and the rest are basics. But
You do have more in class though, right? But it's gonna be a while?
right now I don't have any more in class. Some that's going to go to class, but that's going to be next year.
Okay. Any questions of Jeremy?
How many employees do you have?
There are 14 of us right now.
You're lucky.
So.
Thank you all. You're certainly welcome to stay for the meeting. I'd like to turn the meeting over to Lisa to introduce our guest. We do have a 10 o'clock phone conference with our engineers and architects, and they told me that they're gonna be good with the 20 minutes or so. Lisa?
Yes, so, as you know, we've had a broadband committee that was pretty active for quite some time, and the best thing that happened from, two best things that happened from that is we discovered how widespread the problem was, and that it's throughout the county regardless of your terrain, and we did some data collection to back that up. So Mike Nelson had asked me if they could come speak about BEAD, which that's an acronym, and he also included Tim Riley. And I was feeling very fortunate, like that's my pacifier, that Terry was able to be here to join us, because Terry is really active through his role at Eastern with the whole regional project. So we're just really fortunate, because that way we make sure Edgar County is not forgotten. So if you want to go ahead and proceed.
Yeah, thank you for allowing me to be here today. I've been meeting with a number of counties throughout Illinois. Is anybody going to be attending the broadband initiative up in Chicago? Are you going to be up there? So that's going to be with the state broadband office. Wednesday through Friday, talking about, obviously the challenge process that's been going on, ISPs and residents challenging locations that are currently unserved and served. And then they're also gonna be talking about the application process next, because applications on behalf of the ISPs, which we are an internet service provider, will be going in probably sometime in August, maybe September. They gotta go through the challenge process, challenging, whether a customer has service or not. Then it goes through adjudication, and then it goes to the NTIA for final approval. So Illinois is well on its way. It's ahead of schedule. Talking about BEAD, getting rural fiber broadband to residents of your county. We have all of the county. We have services, easements in Edgar County right now. We're currently building out Paris right now, which will be done later this spring, early summer. So our approach is to get our main wire centers, like Paris, which is our main wire center in Edgar County, outfitted with fiber. So we've got the middle mile already in place, and basically what it is getting that last mile to the rural customers. Frontier, we're building out middle of America. We're putting fiber in everywhere. So we're going to be fully off of our copper platform by 2030. Like I said, we're building out Paris and a number of county seats right now. We've transformed over the past 2.5 years. We went through a major restructuring, got rid of our old leadership that was mainly focused on copper plant. Got a very dynamic leadership team, and all we're doing throughout Illinois right now is putting copper in towns and cities throughout Illinois. I wish we could do it all at once, but like I said, we'll be off the copper platform probably by 2030, but this is a great opportunity to expand fiber broadband into the rural areas, to the farmers, to those hard to reach places, and that's why we're aggressively going after the BEAD grants. And you can certainly ask a question at any time.
Yeah, something about, you're talking about copper, you use copper wires now, but later on you're trying to do away with the copper wires?
Yes.
Okay. I read something about that, I just wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, copper's an old
Oh, yeah, that really.
technology. Tim's been with us about 47 years, so, he goes back a long way with copper. Everybody just had landlines back in the day when he started, and then DSL came about. We did a lot of expansion in Edgar County in 2010, 2011, getting small town DSLAMs network facilities into the Brockman and the Redmonds of the world. Out in Vermillion, we did that I think 5 years ago. Is it Thrift? We actually put a fiber connection to him because we had a fiber fed network. We call it a DSLAM out there, and he put fiber into that.
I'm kind of done.
$3 million horse barn or whatever that was out there, but it's impressive.
What are you replacing the copper with? I'm kind of done myself.
Fiber.
Okay.
So we own the right of ways, or the easements. We have utility easements. We'll directional bore right under the
Through
easements
my
we
yard
already
like
have.
we did,
Did we do it through your yard?
10 holes in the yard. No, Frontier did.
Oh, okay.
No.
So we're changing everything over. We do that too, sir,
Okay.
but we tend to fill it back in, seed it and straw it and replace it and everything. We're very careful of what we're doing here.
They did do that in my yard.
Right now, we're doing a lot of aerial in Robinson, but we've got over $3 billion worth of liquidity. If I would have talked to you 4 years ago, we wouldn't have that. We probably wouldn't be pursuing any BEAD grants. So we've got myself, who's the outreach team, we've got a grant strategy team who comes up with the maps, the grant writing team, the grant administration team. So we're fully engaged in BEAD, and we've done a lot of fiber builds. We're gonna have 10 million fiber locations by 2023. We offer fantastic speeds, all symmetrical speeds, so you're getting the same upload speeds, the same download speeds. It's not non-symmetrical. And we offer a service for $139.99 up to 5 gigabits. I don't know why a residential customer needs 5 gigs, but we've got a great platform. We're very affordable. We build out in Edgar County. The farmer is going to get the same price point that somebody in Dallas, Texas will get. So I'll go over the pricing a little bit, but it's great for communities. We're building out our fiber backhaul, our backbone for the next 20 years. So we're placing new fiber in these communities. We've got a strong middle mile, and it basically, all we need to do is go last middle mile, put in our fiber terminals, fiber hubs, which primarily in the rural counties will all be buried. And we're way ahead of the game. Increases the quality of life. It's great for farmers with precision farming, grain trading, you know, kids school from home. My kids were at Illinois Wesleyan. They got kicked off the campus for over a year and had to learn from home. So I know what a fiber connection, how important that is. My wife works from home. I had to work from home for a little bit. So it improves everything, rural health care, and it also will increase the property values as well. Easier resales when you have a fiber connection at your house. You can basically, you know, do the work, you know, on the web nowadays. So there's definitely benefits. This is our packages, 500 over 500. We also offer a 200 over 200 price point for $29.99, free installation. That's really taken hold. I think a lot of folks are taking advantage of that in Paris, where before we were able to offer maybe 15 over 2. Now you can get 500 over 500. It'll be the same if you live in a farm too when we put our network in. And in Mount Zion, we had a 3% market share in Mount Zion because our offices were in the wrong location. Copper signal really goes down further and further you go out. So we didn't have any market share. We were maxed out at 12 meg over 2 meg. We put fiber in. We now have over 30% market share. Comcast was our competitor, where they're charging for TV and internet like $275 to $300 a month. We have a YouTube TV platform that has all the local channels. 500 over 500 folks are able to get TV and fiber broadband connection for around $100 a month. So it was a big cost savings there as well. Having competition is great. You know, drives the cost down, makes the companies more aggressive. The ACP program went away with Congress. We still offer $29.99 for low-income folks. Congress ran out of money. There's going to be some legislation I know coming up probably maybe later this year or after the election, but we do offer the ACP program. This is our footprint. We're huge in Illinois. We're all rural. Bloomington is our biggest wire center. DeKalb, Sycamore. We don't have any of the major cities. We focus on rural America. Bloomington is getting built out. That's probably going to be a 2-year build, building out Bloomington Normal for us. We've already started in Normal. We built out Berrien Carbondale. We started in DeKalb, Sycamore. So all around here, I can show you a map. I know Terry has asked for that of our fiber in the state, but we've got a redundant, very strong fiber backhaul and network. The next slide is the map of the county. This isn't accurate. This shows unserved and underserved locations of Edgar County. A lot of this has gone through the challenge process. I think you're awarded some RDOF money, maybe from Earthlink, fixed wireless, that might show that there's not as much rural underserved areas, so hopefully that all gets washed out when the state office goes through, and a lot of these locations up here I think will be coming back up, because I don't think, have you seen a lot of towers being built or any fixed wireless? It's like that throughout Illinois. They were awarded RDOF money. Nothing was.
I'm interrupting for a second, but this is a big problem for us. And Larry, that you got to think about a call that you're going today. You may not be involved in it, but that's what Crawford County's pushing. They want to try to push the state to rectify a problem we've got. Anyway, go.
Jackson County down in Marion, we talked about that too. I mean, they had thousands of challenges because a company called Whisper came in, basically says, oh, you're already served, but they had no towers, they had no service out there, and the fixed wireless companies are trying to get a lot of this money or just claim that it's served when in fact it isn't. And fixed wireless isn't it's reliable for those hard to reach areas, but I anticipate that, you know, that map will increase. Vermillion, it looked like there's a big cluster there, but I'm sure once the challenge process gets through, we're gonna have a lot more households. And I think you live in the northeastern part of the county?
Yeah, it was definitely the white area.
Yeah. Are you getting broadband service up there, or?
I have fixed wireless.
Yeah.
As long
Pretty
as,
neat.
when the trees aren't leafed out, it's really quite good.
Yeah. And you don't have storms. And Tim, we put in fixed wireless south of here, and it serves a purpose, but the foliage really affects it. You know, lightning storms and everything. It's like your dish TV or.
Throughout the day, I may switch from that to a hotspot
Right.
several times a day. Yeah.
But look, like Southern Edgar County has a lot more farm houses that are closer together, whereas Champaign, they're spread way out. So to me, you would not make much money in Champaign County because there's not that many houses out in the country.
Well,
Because
they're expensive to build, so
that's what I meant, yeah.
that's what the B grant is all about, $1.04 billion.
Okay.
That's gonna help the internet service providers help build out to these high-cost areas, because
Okay.
it costs about $15 a foot to directional bore fiber.
Okay.
And once we get going, we can put handholds in and, you know, everything will be buried out in the country.
Okay.
We're not gonna rely on pedestals. Terry called us about a couple pedestals knocked down. Don't have to rely on, don't have to worry about mice, we don't have to worry about snakes, and we don't have to worry about farmers and mowers, you know, in the ditches, because everything will be ground leveled and buried, so. We do a lot of that ourselves. We don't have enough workforce to keep up with it, but the customer's out of service, like Terry's mother was having some issues, we went out and fixed it right away. So we're finishing Paris this spring. And this is what I'm here for with the minimum beat outlay of the grant application process if you choose an ISP. And some counties are choosing, you know, multiple ISPs. It makes sense maybe for one internet service provider to go, say, in the northwest part of the county, and it makes sense maybe for somebody like Frontier to go in the southwest. And we certainly can build everything out in this county because we own everything in this county. I mean, we have all of our services in Edgar County, but we do the match. We did Greene County through Connect Illinois Round 3. BEAD is Connect Illinois Round 4, where Greene County, through our application process, was awarded $25 million to build out fiber broadband to rural Greene County, to the farmers, the rural residents. Frontier, as part of this 2030 up there, we provided $9 million plus of our own money to help build out Greene County. And then we just checked the box going down. I went over this with Terry and Charleston a couple weeks ago. We've got the affordability, we've got IBEW that works here, fair labor practice, speed of deployment. If we get a grant opportunity in Edgar County, we're required to build out within 48 months. We're typically going into towns right now. I think Paris is taking us, what, 3 or 4 months maybe, Tim?
Yeah, the one railroad crossing has caused us a little bit of heartache.
Sure.
Yeah.
Cause us trouble
So
too.
That was the railroad's fault, not ours.
Yeah, and every railroad permit we get, it costs us $20,000, so. But really what the state broadband office wants us to do is to get cooperation from the counties, the highway department, the townships, for ease of permitting, so we can build faster and more efficiently. Delays cost everybody money, time costs money, so speed capabilities, we've already got symmetrical speeds, open access network. We lease our fiber network to providers, and we're on other providers' networks, so we have a wholesale department that focuses on open access. And really what I'm here to talk about is community support. Greene County, they kind of went overboard. I mean, Pat Pinkston was pounding on the door of the state broadband office for a long time. He got 100 letters of support. And that can come from hospitals, farmers, we got cooperation of the Farm Bureau, school districts. We would work with the county to get letters of support to get our application all ready to go. We'd write the application. It'll be based on project areas that the state will determine after the challenge process. So down in Vermillion, that might be a couple of projects that will be separated out through the state broadband office when we come up with, you know, our grant application. And then there's also points based on financial investment by the community, by the county. Greene County came up with $100,000 for 4 projects throughout their county. They broke it up 25,000 apiece. So if there's any monetary support you can give, and it can be as minimal as $25,000 to support that, it clicks or it checks the box. So when Frontier goes in and hopefully partners with your county, we can have 100% application where, you know, the state broadband office says, hey, we've checked all the boxes, we've checked everything, we're ready to go. So, not connected anymore. So that's it. I know I kind of went through this quick. I've got 20 minutes, but I wanted to get with you and show you. I can go back to the map slide. And I think some of these areas are gonna fill in with more dots, because right now it's only showing 625 unserved and underserved locations, and that was from our map from a few months ago. We took into consideration where supposedly fixed wireless is going in through those RDOF grants. Did you do any challenges at all, Lisa, or?
So when you talk about the 600 and some, those are what? Those are households? Those
Households, yes.
Yeah,
Could be a couple, you know, on the location map. It could be a hog barn somewhere as well too. It could be a business. So that's where in Greene County, we had to really dial down with the state when we were awarded the grant. And they said, you need to add 27 more locations. And through our process, we actually came up with 13 more new locations because some of them were duplicated.
So it's correct, according to what it was you were trying to capture, that the white areas there are no dots?
That's,
Because see that zigzag up there? That's
Uh-huh.
me. I mean, it is.
Tim, do we serve the north? We serve that area up there too, don't we?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I mean, that,
So this is an early map of, it's
Okay.
probably outdated, so you're gonna see more and more households.
And there are quite a few, relatively speaking, right along the state line south of me, where that word is.
Right.
And of course, Grandview, there are people down there. So I just didn't know if those dots were capturing, whether it was correct that there were no dots in the white areas.
I think that'll end up becoming more dots, to be
Okay.
honest with you. That's why it's not totally accurate. They're going through that process right now. And I'm finding that we're gonna get more locations and fewer locations when it,
But the study that we did and the data we collected is going to be used or useful though, correct?
yes, oh, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you've done studies, and I know Terry's group has been, I'm sure, fantastic to work with, you're well ahead of the game. There are some counties that just don't have any interest or don't have any resources. But with a county like Edgar, I think you've been going through the process, and you know, that definitely helps.
We had excellent participation. We were thrilled with
Yeah,
that.
so I had about 700 locations that did speed tests around the whole,
Right.
covered the whole county. I mean, I know you don't have time to talk about it right now, but I need to talk to you more so about it. That is the issue is, there were earlier grants awarded. Remember we talked about CAP and those things we talked about before? And so at the state level, right, here's the quick summary. At the state level, they say you're ineligible if you've already been funded. And because somebody's supposed to be building into those areas. And then, so we gotta, that's what it comes down to. So we had to document one way or
I
another.
would hate to think that all the work we did was counterproductive.
It wasn't counterproductive. It was,
Okay.
actually, anyway, no, it's, the problem is earlier grants that other people, that some companies got. One, it's one we've talked about before, but anyway, that got funded across here. I mean, I know we don't talk about it right now,
Okay.
but we can update you later.
So if you get this grant, you apply for it, then the plan is out in the rural areas, I know the cities don't have as much of an issue, but at the rural areas, you're gonna have fiber going to every place.
That'll be
That's-
grant eligible, that will be awarded, yes. Yep.
What is the timing on that? And like if you wanna check the box because the county board makes a contribution,
Correct.
what kind of timing are we looking there?
Probably sometime this early fall,
Okay.
I would say. And at that time, sir, we're gonna have all of the locations ready to go. It should be probably by end of June, early July. We're gonna have a good understanding. I'm trying to work ahead of the game, so when the application process starts, you know, I'm coming in here racing, trying to get your support and everything's already done. So this is a very important county to us. We're building that highway, is it Highway 1, US 1 corridor down. We're building Robinson, we're building Lawrenceville, Marshall will be next. I haven't heard much from that county. I know Terry and I talked about that as well too. Clark County,
Let's-
unless you have anybody you can, but I've been trying to reach people over there, but you're ahead of the game and we're building down that corridor.
Okay.
And building a strong fiber network and a strong fiber backbone and getting all of our middle miles done. So we're ready to build last mile here in this county.
Are you, I just want to clarify, are you concentrating on, like, when you talk about Vermillion, like not super high population, but high population areas? Or
No.
like, I'm off of 16, about a quarter to half a mile off of Route 16.
Where's that again?
Route 16.
Is it over here?
No,
About right in there.
Okay.
That's 16 right there, and he lives about right there.
Yeah,
Do you have fixed wireless over there now?
I've got Starlink.
So you don't have true fixed wireless, you got the Elon Musk.
Right, no, I don't have to. I was with Frontier, and I called because it was pretty slow speeds at that time. I mean, I think there's a fiber that runs down Route 16. I don't know if it's yours, but
I'm sure it is.
I would think it was. But I called and asked, is there a chance of getting fiber to my house? They said, well, it's not in the works. This was,
We don't have fiber terminals there that you have an actual fiber hub, but with this expansion for BEAD, we will be attaching to our fiber, actually beefing up our fiber. We'll beef up our middle mile even more, and we'll be putting the fiber hubs in, and then fiber can go a long distance. I mean, copper is
right.
affected by distance. But a mistake we made 10 years ago when Frontier took over Verizon, the ICC said, if you're gonna buy Verizon did no investment in these smaller communities. So we need you to put network facilities to get copper DSL to these towns, say like Brockton. So we put a DSLAM, fiber fed, all of our offices are fiber fed to Brockton. Went well, but then our leadership says, hey, let's push the limit and get 1 meg out to this farmer or 3 meg out to this farmer, regardless if you're 30,000 feet from the nearest office. And it just wasn't reliable. I mean, people 10 years ago didn't have the multiple devices they have now.
Yeah.
You know, it was mainly for email, maybe surfing, and then it just, smartphones and everything, you know, it doesn't work on 3 megs. So that was a big, I'm not saying, yeah, it was, looking back on it, it was a mistake because it's so unreliable at that distance with copper, almost like a fixed wireless. But in Paris, I mean, by our office, you can get 100 meg on copper. But
Right.
we're just Paris won't have copper anymore. We're not doing anything. And then another thing too with the farmers is that once they get fiber, a lot of them like the landlines, you're not paying all the federal taxes and state taxes and everything with a traditional landline. You can get a landline for $20 a month, and that's voice over IP. So it's a lot cheaper. Fiber, you get a new copper service, you're paying probably close to double or a lot higher on a new copper service than you are our fiber services.
When we get closer and the app's being processed, we can maybe have you back and figure
Yeah.
out what we're gonna do and cogitate some.
We'll nail down all the locations, and is
Right.
Lisa, are you my point of contact? Yeah, we'd love to work with you. Terry's been very supportive. You know, we understand the need for this. It's for the higher cost of build locations. And, you know, this only comes up.
And we'll try
once
not
a-
to be as rushed next.
No, I appreciate it. I've been,
Don't mean to be rude.
no,
Okay,
thank you very much.
thank you. Can you put
The
a
first
309
one?
in?
Yeah.
Already. You got 309 in twice.
Oh, sorry.
I already had it in.
Yeah.
Welcome to the audio conferencing center. Please enter a conference ID followed by pound. You are now joining the meeting.
If we need to mute, it's that green button on the other side. Hello?
How's it going?
Levi?
Yes, sir.
All right. Have you got, Michael on yet?
Yeah.
That's it.
And Sean, is Sean here too?
Just if we need to,
He was a minute ago. I don't see him on now.
Okay.
But yeah, we got Dan Jost, Cole, Broughton, Michael's on, and then, I think Sean will be on in a second. You have the full board there with you?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Gotcha. Anybody
And,
else?
yes, and the sheriff and the chief deputy are with us, Jeff and Matt.
10-4.
And the county clerk. Don't want to forget about Augie.
You had breakfast?
I was there.
You did have breakfast?
No,
No, that you didn't do.
I'm never on.
How's it going, Sean?
Still every day. So,
The cats get me.
you're
Well,
asking.
Jeff, looks like everybody's present and accounted for. We can get started at your convenience.
Let me get Lisa in here.
I think you went to potty.
Lisa, we're ready to start.
Maybe we should,
Get off the phone and get in there.
can't go in the bathroom. Matt, how you doing today?
Not too bad. How
Looks pretty good.
We're good to go, Levi.
Good deal. Well, I'll kind of let you guys drive the discussion. You should have a handout from, that I sent to Josh that has a list of items on it. Those are all of our pass the budget recommendations. There's a few items that are new on that list. But for the most part, we've provided some additional documentation to Klinger and his design team to be able to vet those more thoroughly. With all of those potential items, there's a few items that have been ruled out, like the walks around the back, and it sounds like we're not going with changing the precast panels. So just basically, if you're looking at that list today, I don't know if the intent today is to go through the entire list, but
It is now.
right now okay.
We're actually.
Right now we're
Oops, go ahead.
Yeah, right now we have everything in the potential category. Those are things that Klinger has said they'd be open to exploring, or the board has said they've been open to exploring. Those are things that are unlikely, seem like they're things that county would prefer not to do, but we haven't had final direction on those. And then we just have one add option. So really the idea would be as we are vetting things, we're moving them to either the accepted or rejected column so that we have a final say on all of these items. So with all of our potential items, that puts us just below 18 million at 17,965, which you'll see down at the bottom. So there's still some things that we're working on getting pricing back on. You'll see those highlighted and they're noted as to be determined. So.
Well, Michael and I talked this morning, and I found out Sean's gonna be here. I know that Michael talked to you this morning, so I guess I'd like Michael to kind of sum up, because a lot of these changes he didn't get till, when, Michael, late week? Michael? Michael? Is he not there?
He's on the call. I think he's probably just having an issue with his mic.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Did you hear what I said, Michael?
No, I was having issues with this headset, so I apologize.
Okay, well, you can hear me now, correct?
Yes.
All right. We talked this morning, you talked to Levi. I'd like, and you did not receive a lot of these things till late week, right? So you haven't had a chance, your staff is reviewing these, but you haven't had a lot of time to take a look at them, correct?
Correct. I got some responses that Sean and I had a chance to talk this morning, and we can provide, some responses back today on some of these items. So I think we'll be able to move some things from the potential category to the accepted category, and there's a few things we don't necessarily want to do either from a security and safety point of view, so we could go over a couple of those items.
Well, I'd like you to take the lead, you and Sean to take the lead in this discussion for the board, okay?
Okay.
And then we also talked about the guaranteed, all the things, the guaranteed price, the 2% contingency, bid tab, and then some of these items, if you could go down, I think I pointed out a couple of things to you, but if you could go ahead, sir.
Okay. Well, Court provided a spreadsheet here for us, and I think there's some items on the spreadsheet this morning that I noticed that weren't on what you guys sent last week. So it looks like you've had a few more things come in recently. Did I understand that correctly, Levi?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. So, they continue to come up with some new things too. So on the design contingency, so that's the first item at the top. Ford explained a little bit in the last meeting that there's still a 2% project contingency that they're going to carry on the project. So they felt there's no need to carry a second contingency for the design contingency.
I have a
And I'll let the
question.
court think about it.
I have a question there, Levi. You have a design contingency on your document 11-7 of 23 of $330,145. Are you leaving, is that no longer available? Or is only the 186, or how does that work?
Sure. So, yeah, yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so basically the 2% construction contingency that is in, and I hope I'm addressing your question, but that 2% contingency is in compliance with Article 3 of our agreement with the county. It specifies to include a contingency for the, to be used at sole discretion of the contractor. So these would cover, hey, they laid out that column in the wrong place or kind of stuff like that. So we're not always coming back to the county for little piddly thing. That design contingency is typically intended to cover, hey, this is something that's required, a permit requirement, or, the county would like to have this and it didn't get implemented, or, it's to cover the design. We typically don't include anything for design contingency unless there's budget for it. So there's no budget, we're over budget at this point. So it's really at the county's sole discretion if they want to include that or not. It is nice to have something in for it, even if it's a small amount, just so that small items don't have to be, an issue. But, if typically we would, if you have a 2% and then another 1% on top of that, this is kind of similar to the arrangement that we had for the courthouse roof, which a design contingency is more appropriate and a higher construction contingency is more appropriate for that kind of project because of the renovation and, the unforeseens that would come up with that.
Levi, do you have that page?
Yeah.
Sorry, 1 second. Core produced a page that has a 2% construction contingency, a 2% design contingency, and then an allowance of 2%, an allowance for winter conditions of 25.
Yeah.
So where did that go?
So that's the DD budget, and we will provide you another sheet that looks exactly like that. So that just hasn't been put together yet because we were focusing on the pass the budget stuff, and you'll get another packet similar to what you had at the DD budget with all the GMP amendment documents. We'll just have it on there, what contingencies are included. We'll have a listing of all the allowances, the general conditions, general requirements, the 1% for insurance and the builder's risk. So kind of all those other, so we've just been kind of focusing on the top dollar, like all in master budget and the pass the budget, just so that the county could kind of have a level of like, hey, we want to proceed to the next step of having us submit all these documents. So.
Okay, well, then go back to
Levi,
this.
if I remember, okay, can I interject here, please?
Yes.
Thank you. To clarify what Jeff is saying, the number changed from the design contingency from the DD to the bid, if I recall correctly, it had even been higher earlier on in the budgeting process because, we still didn't have full drawings yet, full documents. And so you guys are carrying a higher design contingency, even as far as a year ago, reducing that DD, and you said it was gonna get probably further reduced at bidding, because now we got everything fully bid, fully specified. So I believe what you guys are saying is because now we have everything fully specified, we don't need to carry that extra $186,000 for things that might get changed on the design side, because you still have a overall 2% general contingency.
Yeah, I mean, basically what we're saying is if you cut it to 0, we assume then that the drawings are 100% correct, which is maybe a bit, that's why I said we like to have at least a small amount in there, but yeah, for GMP that it's not strictly speaking necessary to have anything in for it. So it's totally up to you, Michael, and to the county, I suppose. That's the final say on what you would like to carry. But yeah, like you said, we typically start out with 4% or 5% on that, and it gets reduced as we go forward until everything is decided and 100% fleshed out. So I would think you would want to have a small amount in there because of this value engineering exercise. You're tinkering with the design, so you're not sure how that'll affect other items. But yeah, again, it's totally up to you guys.
Go ahead, Jeff.
No, I'm done.
So how much is left in there? There's an amount, correct?
So, yeah, I mean, we can carry whatever value you guys would like us. We have the 2% value for the construction site is $343,000, and that's currently shown in the number right now.
Yeah, this is Dan. So like Michael and Levi both alluded to, we carry the design contingency to account for things in the earlier stages of budgeting that aren't designed, that we don't have. But just to be clear, the construction contingency wouldn't address anything that's a design error or a design change or something like that. That's not what that's there for. So that's why Levi's recommending that we carry some there.
Michael, what are you and Sean recommending some amount there?
Well, Levi said, since we're doing, you've got to remember, this is not just the construction cost for the building. This is the overall project number. So, as we're exploring VE options here, in all fairness to the architect and the engineers, we should get compensated for reviewing these things and such. So if that's where part of that bucket comes from for helping to cover some of these VE costs, and it would be prudent to keep something for now. And again, if it's an allowance, it's a contingency allowance. So if you keep it in now, we decide not to use much of it later, then it gets returned back to the owner. Even on the courthouse, I think we had a general contingency, and I think there was still a design contingency that got carried into construction, and that's how we used to take off a chunk of that unexpected masonry cost we weren't expecting to come across.
So are you recommending
Correct.
we just leave it at 186 then?
I think having an amount there is good. I don't think we're trying to nitpick numbers at the moment, but, having something in place makes sense to me.
All
Yes.
right. So you will be giving us a recommendation then?
Yes.
Okay. Moving on.
So, alternate number one, the precast panels. The board's intent right now is to keep that cost in the project. Based upon some information last week, the low bid precaster has some ideas that they would like to talk about. Maybe they can reduce that cost down a little bit. So I'll be talking to them to see what their ideas are and see if maybe there could be a little bit of savings that comes out of that rather than not having it in at all. Alternate, or where it says the third row, provide concrete paving in lieu of asphalt. I mean, Jeff, did you want us to go through all this line by line, or what was your intent?
Well,
here?
I thought you were gonna, you've highlighted some things that you thought were good. So I don't think we need to go through the whole list, but if you could give us an update on what you and Sean believe are satisfactory and those that we should not consider. Is that a shorter list?
That would make that a shorter list.
All right.
Okay. So, but since we do got Core on the line here regarding this concrete paving in lieu of asphalt, you know, because all the deducts are shown in parentheses in red, and this is shown up as a, you know, a number that's added. So if Core could explain the concrete pavement to asphalt, so that way the owner would be here, that would be appreciated on my part.
Yeah, I mean, we would really recommend you guys go that route. We think we can get that number to just be a very small add of 8,000, and that concrete is gonna last almost double the lifespan of an asphalt pavement. So, I mean, to me, even if you're cutting something else out to pay for that, I think it's a very good value for what you're showing there. Again, it's up to you guys how you would like to proceed, but that's our recommendation. So.
Right.
But, so the board understand that's an add, that would be adding cost.
We understand.
A lot.
Yeah. I think if there's one place you need to, I think that's somewhat essential. In a high turnaround area.
Okay.
We would tend to agree. I mean, if you can get a longer for life product in there, and, you know, we're only talking 18,000, that, you're getting some value. Again, you're adding cost to the project, but you're getting the value of that for a much longer lasting material.
Okay.
Okay.
Onward and upward.
Landscaping, so, you know, we have plantings in the landscape. That this cost of 105 is more than just the plantings and the trees. So, you know, Levi, if you could explain that a little bit so the board can understand that on the seeding aspect of it.
So, yeah, typically, actually getting the plants and doing the seeding is not that expensive. So, a lot of times what ends up happening is the landscapers, they put a lot of money in just to do the mowing and maintenance to get the seed established, and they have to keep the plants alive for like a year, like all the plantings and all that. So, and there's typically quite a few failures with, you know, I mean, it's just the nature of landscaping is, you know, you get dead, some trees will die and all that. So if possible, we try to push the owners to provide the landscape work direct and then do the mowing and maintenance with their own crews, which is, from talking to Michael, it sounds like you guys maybe don't have your own crews for that, but, you know, typically you have like an existing relationship with somebody who does, like, hey, they mow all the lawns for our buildings, and, you know, they water stuff when we need it watered and all that. So that way there's no like warranty pointing a finger to, like, it doesn't really work to just tell the landscape guy, hey, you go ahead and seed and install this, and then you know, we'll take over all the warranty stuff, because there's always finger pointing of like, hey, they didn't water enough, that's why it died. It's not because I got a bad tree from the nursery. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's kind of an all-in package, but kind of a middle of the road you guys could look at would be to just remove the plantings, and we could keep both mowing and maintenance, but that mowing and maintenance is, or keep the seeding, but that mowing and maintenance is like probably a $40,000 or $50,000 deal. So, I mean, it's, you know, if they're coming from out of town, that's it's a lot of labor for them to come and mow and just keep that stuff from dying. So,
Levi, we had one of the advantages of being next to the highway department was that we had talked to our engineer, and they would keep the place mowed and do the snow removal, all the other things that needed to be done. So that was how we were looking at that.
You get somebody like Dirt Corps to do the planning and everything, which would be a lot
Yeah.
cheaper, right?
Right.
Right. They are in this. They
Yeah,
are in that.
yeah, we were just going off what's in the specs, but yeah, typically they have to warranty it for a certain point, but yeah, we can talk to Dirt Corps, they were involved, so we can talk to them and see if they're comfortable with, hey, will you guys just install everything and the county will take, all of that. It's just, the county should be aware they won't maintenance anything. And, you see what I'm saying, is like, they won't warranty that it's not gonna die if it doesn't get watered enough, so. There might be some, if you guys are comfortable with the vendor, then I think it makes sense to go that way, but you might have some trust that you have to extend both directions, so.
Michael?
I think that's something worth exploring further if you guys are
Yes.
fine with that.
Yes.
Okay. And maybe Levi, if you could break it out, like the plantings are this cost, and then the mowing, the grass, the mowing, the maintenance, a different cost. Because one suggestion I had made to the county last week is that, if they want really to save costs, maybe they have a local gardening club that could do some of the plantings. Maybe there's a 4-H club or an FFA club that could do the tree planting. So there could be some options there. So maybe if that number could give, it's a nice sized number too. So if you could provide a little breakdown of where that savings could be, then they could look at it and determine, here's what they're comfortable doing, here's what they would still rather have under the construction management contract.
Talking about laying sod or just planting seed.
See. I'm not sure that those options are something that we're interested in. I think we want to handle it professionally, whether we hire it done or whether it's included in the contract. I don't think we want to depend on volunteer looking around at everybody and seeing how they're reacting to all that. So 4-H, or not 4-H, but garden clubs and or volunteers from high schools is not how we want to go.
Okay, well, if Ford can break down the number, then the county can provide us some feedback on what you'd like to be able to do.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. We can do that.
As far as item number 3 here, remove the sheriff medallion from 2 round signs on the building. The county indicated that they might be interested in using their own vendor to do signs. But as I explained to them last week, we would still need to be, as the architects, involved in the process, because we don't want you just necessarily installing a sign on the building, particularly this is on the metal panels, without it being coordinated in the shop drawings process. Plus, we want to make sure there's still a good overall design aesthetic to what's done on that sign. So,
I think
John said these signs done.
I think we were thinking about just putting emblems on the doors and maybe putting a sign out in and putting a sign out in the landscaping.
Okay, if that's the case, doing vinyl graphics on the doors is a very low cost thing, and we do have that monument sign out front, so it sounds, if that's what the county would like to do, then it sounds like that becomes a very possible item to move into that category of cost savings there.
Okay. What was the last word?
I'm sorry, what's that?
We didn't understand the last word you said.
Move it into which column?
The rejected?
Cost savings column. I guess that would be, when we're saying accepted, it's still not like the final acceptance. Things can still move back and forth, but it sounds like you guys are leaning towards accepting that $50,000 credit back as,
Yes.
a savings to the project.
Yes.
I assume so.
Okay. Item number 4, change skylights to cow wall type skylights for $59,000. Sean and I spoke this morning, and the detention code requires they be able to see blue sky and clouds. Cow wall would be a translucent type panel, and so you wouldn't have the clear glass. So that's something we're going to reject because that's not going to meet code for the detention code.
Gotcha. I think there's, yeah, I think we might look at there. I think they gave another option for a different manufacturer that I think is translucent. So let me go back and look at that, and I'll submit a revised. I don't think it's the same. It might be a little less than that, but I think there's still some savings we can look at there. So.
Sure, I mean, if there's a transparent skylight difference from what we specified that comes in a little bit cheaper and the quality's still there, we'll look at it and see if it's a workable product. But just on face value, if it's not going to be transparent where you can see blue sky and the clouds to meet that detention code requirement, we're not going to be able to accept that.
That makes sense.
Okay, one of the items on here, because we're not doing everyone, we're just doing some of the low-hanging fruit. Item number 7, 60 mil white TPO in lieu of the 60 mil white EPDM. You know, $16,000. I think, I mean, both are gonna be a 30-year warranty product. Both were, they're specified for the EPDM to be a 30 mil warranty. I tend to like working with EPDM a little better. We tend to specify that because we think it's a little bit higher level product, but again, it's still a 30-year product for either the EPDM or the TPO. So, and Sean, did you have any, I don't think we actually talked that one specifically over this morning. Sean might not have his headset working here, but, he says he has no microphone. Did you guys let Sean in on the call? It says he's here, but it's unverified.
I don't see any option.
See, can you talk to him, Michael?
Yeah, well, he texted me, so Sean did put a message in that we need to have those clear skylights. As far as the roofing amount, I mean, that's something we can continue to look at here.
Okay.
So I don't know if anyone from Core is able to look at Sean's login here. As he said, they haven't let me in from my cell phone, so I'm using the Teams chat. So maybe you're able to get him in. But
It shows he's in and mic'd and he doesn't need checked in or anything.
Okay.
He might want to hang up and retry. Sometimes it just loses.
I see him now. Yeah, but can't hear you, Sean.
Sign language.
Okay. Well, while we're waiting for him to try and log back in. All right. Moving on here, because we're not gonna drag out this meeting here. Item number 8, shop fabricated steel copings in lieu to manufactured. That's definitely we could consider. So I think that's a very strong possibility for savings there. Some information got sent over to us, so we'll take a look at it. But I think that's where, some savings can be realized. Change to the metal panels, number 9, from solid aluminum to ACM. We're looking at that right now. We've got some information at the end part of the week. So hopefully we'll be able to respond back with some more information on that. Let's see here. Number 14, provide number 5 rebar and block in lieu of burglar bars. I spoke with Sean about that this morning, and he thinks that's something that could be doable. He's been talking to Robin Noah from Noah Detention, who's that low bidder. And so it's going to take a little bit of more coordination there, but at this time we think that's going to be a possible thing to have some savings on. So we're looking at that. So we at least want to be able to indicate, hey, it's looking likely that's what can be done, but it all comes into the final details of how that gets put in. So it's very possible that we could be having some savings come from that. On items 15, 16, 17 on allowances, I had indicated here, Corey, to clarify at the next meeting. So if you guys can clarify when you're saving, potentially going to save money in allowances, what was the overall amount in the allowance to start with, and be able to just kind of explain the allowances to the county.
Sure, and let me just bring up the list of allowances. And I think it might be helpful to get all this information over to the county after this meeting so that they can kind of go through this stuff. Let's see here, give me 1 second. Alright, so have the 2% construction contingency. So for the allowances that we're looking at, which were winter conditions, we currently have in $35,000 for that. So we look to be, basically we're cutting the raw cost on that about 10 grand. So there's the 1,000 in soft costs that comes from cutting that down. But so there's still something in for that. We're just kind of looking at these allowances versus, like, we already have this construction contingency in here. Does it make sense to be cutting out like your medallions and reducing scope in other areas when you may get these savings back anyways? So that's kind of what our thought was there. But yeah, so we had 35,000 in for winter conditions, so that would go down to 25,000 for the temporary floor protection. We had 35,000 in. So again, we'd be cutting that down to 25,000. And then for the slab moisture mitigation, we had 50,000 in, so we'd be cutting that in half to about 25,000. So again, we still think there's going to be some costs associated with these areas. So specifically with the slab moisture mitigation, that was basically figuring that at all locations. And we don't think we're gonna really need any of that at the sealed concrete areas, or, probably the epoxy is not going to be an issue either. So that would really kind of cover your office areas, your rubber flooring, and some of the areas for this epoxy. So we're just being a little more conservative on, again, whatever we don't spend is returned back to the owner regardless. So it's kind of up to you guys on how you want to handle this. If you just want to leave it in at the higher amount, you'll get the money back either way. So you can either get it back now or you can get it back at the end of the job, if that makes sense. So that's kind of we know we're going to spend some of it. We're just being more optimistic in our outlook of how much we're going to spend, if that makes sense.
Okay. And I think from the county's point of view, because they didn't know there was gonna be more, without having a list of what allowances you guys were asking everyone to hold, it's hard to be able to understand that even from our side of it too. So, Levi, one of the things you told me today, that when, you're gonna turn in the paperwork for the GMP, you're gonna provide a disclosure of all the allowances that are in. Maybe if you can share that a little bit ahead of time, as you alluded to just now, that might be helpful because then the county can get an idea of, why these numbers are there.
Sure.
And if it's an allowance at the end of the project, if it's unspent, it goes back to the owner.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the same thing we had on the courthouse that we've been able to pay for some of the repairs and stuff with those allowances. So yeah, it's the same process as the courthouse with the allowances.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, I'll just draft up, I'll send what we have done so far for the GMP amendments so that the county can review it, and then we'll submit finals based on the feedback, so.
Okay. Item number 18 here, the Viking embed blocks in lieu of the specified embed. And there's even 18A. So those are things we're looking at a little more closely. Noah's attention providing some information that we'll be able to provide a response back to that one shortly. At the end of the day, we want to so where these steel blocks are occurring in the masonry walls is where anything that's wall mounted inside the cells gets, so you got steel bunks, and then you got the steel chairs and the steel table inside the cells, not the day room, the cells themselves. So you don't want things with bolted connections because they can screw with that, obviously. So there's products that we specified where it's a smooth face block that goes over a concrete block to get a nice flush appearance with the overall face of the CMU wall, and then the beds get welded up to that, so that way there's no caulk joints. There's because the steel plates like embed plates that would get mounted, they would be surface mounted, and then you got edges we gotta have to caulk around and try and smooth out. So based on H&N's experience, those are not items we necessarily want to look at right now, but we're at least having the conversation on 18 and 18A with the contractor to see if there's something that could be a good middle ground on that. Okay?
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can.
now I can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I joined by phone. The embeds are, for the most part, dependent on how nice the wall's laid up. And a lot of times if there's a clinker, your flat metal bunk's not gonna lay up tight to an embed that's not straight or not plumb. Like actually the steel blocks that we talk about, they're actually the same width as a block wall. So when they're laid up in the wall, they're flush with the face of the CMU. It's a little bit of a task, I think, to throw those out more than laying a block wall up and then hope that also that the embed that goes on that block wall is held tight when it's set, and some of the things that go along with the masons. So that there are concerns. It usually requires, and from my experience, there'll be more pitch-proof caulk required. There's edges that need to be ground down and prepped so that there's not sharp corners to be used as any number of things, or gaps that require that caulking to keep from becoming stash spots. So Again, it gets down to how good the masons are.
So unlikely.
Right.
I get it.
Yep, we get it.
I mean, Avamon is a good quality masonry contractor, but we don't know if they've actually worked with these products before. So, I'd say that's something maybe we leave in there for now, because the importance, Sean's experience on this, I think that's where we wanna follow that and keep that in there for now. We can still have some more conversation, but, I'd like to see that stand. Okay.
Yep.
Item number 19A, on change exterior bullet resistant window of road patrol to thermally broken security frame. I don't think that had been sent over to us previously, that's a new one that I saw. Sean and I talked this morning, and we're definitely open to some ideas for that. So if there can be some information shared on that. I think, Sean, you had mentioned Noah Detention had suggested that maybe there could be some savings based upon that. So you had a little bit of conversation with Noah on that?
Well, I assume it's on that list because there was the potential of savings, and that window's been a bugger right from the beginning. I think we've had more conversations about that system in general, to be able to have insulated glass with some bullet resistant qualities. I know for a fact that the detention, or a hollow metal frame, can probably more easily accommodate the glass thickness than the typical aluminum frame, which is what we're in essence trying to use, an aluminum frame in a window opening. It says that they have thermally broken hollow metal frame that they can use. I would like to explore what that outside material is, if we can get something that looks more like the brushed aluminum or the clear anodized aluminum that we're using up at the front of the building, so it kind of looks like we thought about it. And I don't know what that material is, if it's stainless or what, but if it's just a thermally broken cap on the outside, I can't imagine that would be that much more, and what savings we made by going to a simple hollow metal frame might still end up being a savings.
So, just like on the spreadsheet there from Core, it says requested additional information from Noah Detention, so that's something we definitely would like to look at once we get that information in. Okay? And going down the rest of the list, I get engineers that are looking on, these items are mostly of the mechanical, electrical, plumbing nature, so I'll be getting some responses back from them in the next day or so. So those are the big items that we got so far to be able to share.
Okay.
Now, Michael, you talked to me about how the guaranteed maximum price versus a contract, that how would we know that Core would continue to do everything in their power cooperating with you folks to save costs? And you said that Levi had said that could be put in the contract.
Right,
Yeah.
so I'll let Levi go ahead and explain that.
Yeah, so we're sending, basically we have a signed agreement with the county to provide the building, and we've agreed on the fee. And now that we have the GMP, we have the drawings and it's all bid, we're basically submitting an amendment that clarifies the cost. So as a part of that amendment, we have kind of all of our clarifications and, listing that, hey, these are all the allowances we've included. They're intended to cover these items. This is the schedule for the project now that it's bid, and we have a definite timeline for everything. So, it could be just as simple as like a paragraph in there that says, Core will provide additional value engineering as requested by the county. So, I don't know what that looks like, if it's, hey, we will hold, you know, a monthly meeting or a bi-weekly meeting for the next 3 months, or, you know what I mean, with bringing additional items for the engineer and design team to consider. I don't know what you want that to look like, but I mean, you guys are a significant reference for us, and this is a significant, you know, market that we would like to be doing a lot more work. I mean, jails are our key area for us. That's a market we want to grow. I don't really see a situation where we throw in the towel and say we're done. You know what I mean? So I get that you guys want some sort of assurance in that way. Just, I guess, let us know specifically what you're looking for. I would think that a bi-weekly meeting for the next couple of months is kind of sufficient. Just saying, hey, we'll keep bringing items for those, you know, for the county and the design team to consider. But I guess, Jeff, let me know what you're thinking you would like that to look like. So.
Yeah, I mean, we would have to work on the wording there, because obviously we gotta put an end date to it that allows construction to move forward timely, where we're not holding up releasing of materials and stuff like that. But Jeff, I mean, you have our complete assurance that, I mean, Cole, you'll be with Cole and I every week, and we'll be around, and you have our pay apps. So, I mean, you have multiple ways to make sure, and we give you our 100% guarantee that we're gonna keep working on it. We'll work on it through the whole job, wherever we can find a suggestion to save you money or do better. That's our culture. That's what we do. That's why we're the size we are and able to do what we do. So we can work on language, but I think we just all need to keep in mind that there needs to be bumpers so that we don't cause any, you know, it can't go on forever is basically what I'm saying. Both for all of us. You know, Michael needs to be able to wrap up documents that we need so we can move on and make sure we're building what we need to be building. So
I'd like to point
I
out.
agree,
Go ahead, Michael.
I agree with Dan, having some kind of end date as part of that exercise is gonna be important, so that way we can keep focusing and getting things moved along too.
I'd like to point out in the courthouse project, they're gonna be giving us back, or not giving us back, but we're gonna get $112,000 less on the project than what was quoted. So there is a return there. Not that that would offset this, I'm just saying that they have been able to produce.
You know, even using the courthouse project as an example, when we're looking at, you know, the masonry was an unexpected item. And so the court did some initial budgeting and came up with some numbers and scenarios, and then we kind of talked some things through, and then kind of came up with, you know, hey, let's go ahead and scaffold all of the building, and, you know, how would that work for them? So I think that would be a process probably similar to what Levi and Dan is talking about, trying to work things out at a higher level early on when it's there, and then eventually, okay, here's the path, we're all on it. Now we just gotta move forward and crank it out.
Yeah.
The way things sit.
Yep, exactly, Mike.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. The way things sit, Levi, what is the guaranteed maximum price at this point?
Yeah, I mean,
or I don't expect
I would think we would, yeah, I think if we're not touching the contingency or the allowances, and, you know, it sounds like Michael's kind of preliminarily given the okay on some things, but like final pricing would need to be set for all that. I think what we would say is that you would be signing a GMP for 17 1,361,000, give or take. And then it would come down from that point to try to get it where you need to be. So get it down to the, I think the target was 16.6. So.
Levi's at, the 17.36, they're wanting the asphalt, or the concrete in lieu of asphalt, right? So that would be added.
Yeah.
And then we're not taking alternate one.
Yeah. So I can double check, I need to double check that to make sure that, you know, with all these changes that nothing's gotten weird on the Excel formula or the Excel sheet I'm using here. You know, that's just kind of I think that's good, but yeah, I would want to double check that before I send over, so.
Yeah, and it,
I think Jeff, go ahead, Jeff.
no, please.
I think where we're at is, I know from your earlier conversations and emails is, you know, I think the goal was to try to get this wrapped up this week. I think we just kind of need to establish, you know, if we get a GMP to you Wednesday afternoon, Michael gets us any comments between now and then on VE, and we'll attach the VE log to the GMP, so we'll know which items we're assuming are accepted and not accepted. Does that work in your time? I'm trying to figure out what works in your time frame.
Well, the board needs to talk about our readiness. I think on some of these things that if we can have any answers for sure, like the medallion is 50, and if we're gonna pull landscaping, that's 105. Anything that we could pull, it'd be nice not to have, that would lower the guaranteed maximum price, right? By whatever you think would work, right?
Correct.
I think the board needs to talk about it on our own here for a few minutes. So, what else?
Okay, yeah, you can just let myself or Levi know kind of, you know, your time frame, and then we'll make sure we get with Michael, or Michael can let us know, and we can just make sure we get you what you need, and then we can go from there. You know, the other option is, Jeff, to go with the 18.8, knowing that because the problem with setting the GMP is some of these are still fluid, and Michael, if I'm misspeaking, correct me, but you know, we might project him at a $20,000 credit, but once Michael and us finally get him fully vetted, it might only be a 15. So that number can always get dropped, if that makes sense. So.
Well, that causes us problems. I mean, you've listed like the medallion at 50,000. I mean, isn't that a pure, what could replace that? Why would that go up?
Well, I think what he's saying is that some of these items that I'm looking at for savings, you know, I'm still having to pay my engineers and architects to look at these items. So what I might say, you know, there could be a $20,000 savings, but by the time we look at it and get some more information from the contractor, it might not be 20,000. It could be, maybe it's 18 or whatever.
No, I understand that.
That is very carries the cost.
I wasn't sure what you said. But the
Hey,
more,
Jeff, like on the medallions, it's a $50,000 credit, but we don't have an ad for the signage to go onto the doors.
no, we don't want you to be involved in that. We will take care of that.
Okay. Yeah,
And
so that's all the stuff we'll have to work out.
We,
Yeah, and go ahead.
I just think we need as much good information as we can get added into that GMP.
Yeah, I get that. So I guess what we're saying is that Michael and his team have been drawing the building for months, and it's things that seem simple. Yeah, they're not always simple, if that makes sense. We're not gonna have everything figured out in just a few days of, hey, we're changing this on the design. So I get what you're saying, and it's probably frustrating, and I understand that, but it's just, we've been through this enough times that we've committed to certain things with like, hey, you'll get 50 grand back if you change this. And then we get final drawings and, because the support steel for it was going away, the structural engineer was figuring that through shear resistance. This is just purely hypothetical. So now we need to add more moment welds, and we're only getting back 40 now. So that's kind of that's where we're coming from with that, is that it's these things, they seem simple, but there might be things that pop up with them that need to be vetted, and Michael needs to look at them, and his entire team needs to look at them, not even just him, so.
All right.
Yeah, I get it.
Yep. All right, guys. Anybody else got any questions?
Not now.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Thanks.
Thanks.
You need to hang up. Are we clear?
Yep.
We need to go in closed session real briefly.
So is Michael coming this week?
We forgot to ask him.
I'd like to sit down face to face with him and talk about some of these things.
Is anybody going to the, hang on. The 14th is a tabletop exercise. Carl, are you planning on going? Okay, okay. All right. Are we ready?
Well,
I need to make a motion.
yeah, let's do that first, and then we'll close this
I'll
off.
make a motion. I'm Russ second.
Russ seconds. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. We are in closed
For,
negotiations, contract negotiations.
No, however, I did
Okay.
read
back and open.
the email that Augie had forwarded that has some valid
That's
staff questions. So I don't know that we're ready to approve it Wednesday.
Okay, then we'll just pull it.
Unless we approve it Wednesday and then have meetings and revise it later.
Well, let's not have a bunch of meetings, let's just revise it.
Okay.
And then, I mean, these are more housekeeping than they are actual function, I think.
What Lauren had suggested, yes, those are housekeeping. What
Augie?
Pam and Jennifer had raised, and we should give others the opportunity as well. Those are more clarifications that I'm sure are valid to take a look at, because Lauren's role was kind of housekeeping. So,
Okay. Well, let's do the housekeeping, then come back and we can always
okay,
do the others later, okay?
all right.
Have you looked over the agenda, folks? Let's see, bid guarantee, we won't take action on Monday or Wednesday. Lease for housing authority to move Esden, you all seen that? Agreement for special ambulance District 1, appointments. Approve update to personnel policy, we'll probably go with just the housekeeping ones, and then at least those will get done. Resolution to abate taxes for the special ambulance area District Number 1, and that is 50 grand.
Did we levy 400,000?
375, so we're gonna go to 325.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, that's what that, I didn't quite understand what that meant. Okay, I
Right,
see now. I
okay.
see. Okay.
Yeah.
So that was their bid, 325?
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we'll levy Right. Appropriate amounts from here on out.
I thought, understood that you want to give them 50,000.
No, I'm
Okay.
sorry. You
I
must-
didn't quite understand.
That'd be a hell of a deal.
Oh, hell, yeah.
I
That's
think,
what I'm saying. Yeah, I feel it was a
I
great deal.
think a couple of people up there
Yeah.
might have a stroke.
Yeah, I think so too.
Budget, Don is going in for, never mind, I can't. I'll tell you, that's a HIPAA deal. We're about the budget is about 6 months in, and at the current rate, we'll spend about 5 million, and 6.3 was budget. So what I'm trying to say is the budget is doing fine for the year at this point. Hopefully, once everything gets squared away over there, we'll start having more consistent reports out of the treasurer's office.
I have a comment about the shelter.
Sure.
I don't know if you read the paper Saturday about the shelter, about 25 kittens. That is not true. I called Amber yesterday. That is a humane shelter. That the lady that wrote the article got mixed up with animal shelter. We had no kittens.
Because you don't do kitties.
No, well, people
Other
drop
than
them
the
off at
hairless
night.
kitty.
But we do not have 24 kittens in the shelter. And somebody did adopt a hairless cat. I had 4 people interested in it, and somebody did adopt it.
Did you have anything you wanted to bring up while I think about it?
No, just you remind me of something there with the housing authority agreement. Our agreement, I believe, will be coming due again for Highland Court for our office as well. I don't know if that's due at the end of May or end of June.
Check on that and let us know,
It's coming.
please.
That's something we need to look at as well.
And, gosh, there's something that's just escaping me real briefly. I'll try to catch it here.
Where are we at on the tower deal?
We're waiting to hear back from them about when they're gonna get stuff out of there, and then,
I did have to go out there again this weekend. We lost power out there and radio systems crashed. I had to take a generator out there at 2 o'clock Saturday night, Sunday morning, to get the radios fired back up.
just put yourself in for a little overtime.
So, has the moved in their office?
Yeah,
Okay.
I can't tell you exactly when. You know what it was, we'll have some information in closed session to tell you about the telecommunicator corrections agreement. There may be some addendums or some adjustments made to that, right? So, once we get more, we won't try to do it today.
Andrea called me. Did I discuss her furnace with you at all?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
She's gonna, I saw her the other morning, I took some cages and pet carriers out there, and she said that she was gonna get some more bids.
She's gonna get more bids?
Yeah,
Okay.
and I gave her a couple of people, and
Okay.
she was gonna try to talk to Lou Sater, and I've already talked to Lou Sater, and we're setting up something so you can meet with them.
Good.
And also, there was another facility you told me, out at Sheriff's Street.
Right. But I want to
And
talk-
he's, yeah.
Okay.
But his father died, I got a text from him a little bit after he passed away, Friday at about 5 o'clock.
That is bad.
Yeah. Larry Lucider, bless him. So, motion to adjourn. Andy moves, Russ seconds, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you all. Got a lot to think about, don't we?